Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IGTV. And with us this morning, we have William H. Murray on the classification of targeted systems. Good morning, Bill. Welcome to the program.
Morning, Joe. Recently, a colleague raised the issue that he called low-hanging fruit. He noted that most of the weak systems in the network have already either been strengthened or compromised. There's not much low-hanging fruit left for the attackers. Similarly, enterprises have implemented all of the easy protective measures. Both the SANS Top 10 list and the PCI data security standards are based on the idea of addressing the low-hanging fruit first. My colleague suggested that the attackers are moving to more narrowly targeted and focused attacks, more narrowly targeted and more resourceful attacks. He suggests that we must move from good enough security to stronger, not to say perfect, security. This observation is really about the effectiveness of security, not the efficiency. Now, at least intuitively, we understand that the stronger we make our security, the more the next increment of security costs us. Said another way, as one becomes more secure, costs rise exponentially. As one becomes more secure, the less likely it is that the next increment of security will be efficient. Therefore, the security objective should be to minimize the cost of security measures plus the cost of losses or breaches. Unfortunately, this is a hard place to know about. Moreover, we know that some of the vulnerabilities are fundamental, not to say unavoidable. Many are remedied only at the expense of other desirable properties of our systems, even other security properties. For example, one can only preserve the confidentiality of data at some expense to its availability, and vice versa. If I make the data more available, that is, by increasing the number of copies, leakage is going to go up. Efficient security requires that all data get the protection that it deserves, but that expensive protective measures be reserved for only that data that requires them. Of course, this is the rationale behind data classification. For all kinds of reasons, some of which you recognize, in most enterprises we do not classify data efficiently. Many enterprises do not classify at all. Some of those that do not do so well. That is, they may either underclassify or overclassify. So I want to suggest to you an alternative way of achieving efficient security. I want to suggest that in addition to or even in place of whatever classification of data we do, that we also classify networks, systems, and applications as targets, and according to a scale that is relatively easy to apply. The scale is a 4-point scale, and we refer to the least protected systems as soft targets. A soft target is one that will be vulnerable to script kiddies using only cheap tools. Cheap includes the fact that they're readily available. The script kiddies can find them without very much difficulty. As recently as 4 Christmases ago, when one took a new computer from its box and connected it to the internet, it was compromised and taken over by others in a matter of minutes. That is a soft target. Nice people do not attach weak systems, that is, soft targets, to the internet. Indeed, until one attaches a weak system to a network, it is probably not a soft target. Today, many computers come with safe defaults, with firewalls and antiviruses. They attempt to be safe out of the box. They may no longer be soft targets, but they may still be the next scale up targets of opportunity. A target of opportunity is one that might be chosen at random by skilled hackers using known tools, but not cheap. Like, said another way, a opportunity is one whose security or vulnerability is about the same as the average of the population of which it is a member. Next step up, targets of choice, or targets of choice only, are those where the cost of attack is lower than the value of success, but we're still higher than the soft targets. It could be chosen by those kinds of users. Targets of choice or targets of choice only are those where the cost of attack the value of success is so much higher than the cost of attack that in the population it is not likely to be chosen at random, but where the cost of attack to an adversary is still lower than the adversary's cost of value of success. The population of targets of choice is increasing rapidly, and the average cost of attack against that population is going up. That's a good thing. That the threat is also becoming more sophisticated, script kiddies growing into skilled hackers, trivial scripts being replaced by Metasploit, is a bad thing. Finally, we have hardened targets. Hardened targets are those where the cost of attack is much higher for all except a tiny minority of privileged users than the value of success. As security professionals, we should be concerned with the top two classes. Most enterprise systems should be operated as targets of choice only. These include personal computers or the multi-user, multi-application systems. Essential security practices should be sufficient to get most of our systems off of the target, onto the target of choice list and off of the soft target list. Because these are multi-application, user-oriented systems, at least some of them can be expected to yield to an attack aimed squarely at them. However, they should not yield to attacks against the population at large. For this class of systems, our strategy is not to outrun the bears and the brigands, but simply to outrun the slow guy. Only a small number of our systems, perhaps as little as 3, not more than 15% of our systems, will be operated as hardened targets. However, this might include all of our servers, but should include at least those of our servers that have intellectual property, personally identifiable information, payment card information, the books of account, or any mission-critical application, an application essential to the mission, health, continuity, or success of the enterprise. These systems operated by a small cohort of privileged but supervised users. For this class of systems, our strategy is to defend only our most valuable resources from bears and brigands. Notice, even here we accept the risk of dragons, those likely to crush or fly over even expensive defenses. While all of us know someone who has seen a dragon, or know someone who knows someone whose family member has been killed by a dragon, dragons are so rare that most of us have never seen one. We are prepared to accept the risk of dragons, but we are still vigilant. Now, simply classifying systems according to this scheme does not make one secure. You have to operate them in accordance with the classification. Notice that when we classify data, the second thing we do after we make a decision as to its sensitivity is to put a label on the data that says this is how it should be classified. Similarly, we must do this with systems so that people know how the system is being operated. One must also control and operate them according to the definition of the class. Taking systems off the target of opportunity list involves appreciating and applying essential security practices. These are on the list for a future talk. Hardening systems includes rigorous configuration of them, removal of gratuitous functions, including the privileges of writing and executing arbitrary programs, and isolating them from other networks, systems, applications and user populations. The isolation may be in physical hardware, or it may be in virtual machines and with virtual networks. Since these things will be both difficult and unpopular to do, for recommending them, we are called professionals and are paid the big bucks. See you next week.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Okay, everybody, that's our editorial for the week. Certainly gives us plenty to think about and plenty to discuss. And we hope to have Bill and Mark, as well as Al Berg's videos, up and on our website for continued review later this afternoon. And just making note here on our chat. All right, next up at 10 a.m. is Al Berg, the Hack Report, Homegrown Malware. Okay, so we put that out there to everybody. And as I explained earlier this morning, unfortunately, I think I may have had some of the music running. You know, there's a lot to get